You're listening to Milwaukee Mafia.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is the Milwaukee Mafia Podcast. I'm Eric Walterkins and
I'm Gavin Schmitt.
And this is a podcast where we're going to take a look at some mafia history within the state of Wisconsin. I'm just a guy and I'm joined by Gavin, who is probably Wisconsin's foremost expert in mafia history.
Yeah, I'll
for the
take
state.
that. Sure.
So we're going to turn it over to him. I think he's just going to start us off on this first episode with a little introduction, and then we will pick up stories next week, correct?
Correct.
So go ahead, take it away, Gavin.
All right. So hello, everybody. Welcome to Milwaukee Mafia, the podcast. I just wanted to give a brief overview of why we're doing this. People have come up to me for a while now saying, hey, you should do a podcast, you should do a show, you should do something. And you know what? We got the equipment, so we should do it. I've been researching organized crime and crime in general in Wisconsin for the last, 15 years or something now. I don't remember anymore, but it's been a while. And I've gained a lot of documents, a lot of interviews, and put some books together. And, I love the books. I love the research, but, this is a new format, trying to get it out to people. So what I would like to do with this podcast is each week kind of focus on something narrow, trying to keep it relatively short, 15 minutes each time, and talk about one specific event that happened, one specific person, and really just try to provide a history of the past, 100 years or so. As long as you guys stick with me, we can keep this going more or less indefinitely.
Let me open it up for some questions for you about this.
Please.
So first, I think the audience would love to know, how did you ever get into the history of Wisconsin Mafia? First of all, most people would not even realize Wisconsin ever had Mafia. Mm-hmm. How did you ever get turned on to that?
You want it long or short?
Probably the short. If we're trying to keep this to 15 minutes, that's probably the best idea.
Yeah, okay. It's just sort of a thing that I stumbled upon in my reading. A lot of people, if they read about Wisconsin history or Wisconsin crime, sooner or later, they're going to come across the name Frank Balistrieri. Frank Balistrieri was the head of organized crime in Milwaukee for a good 30 years, from the 60s to the 90s. But there really isn't much out there about him. There wasn't a book, there wasn't a movie, there wasn't really anything. And it just sort of, it ate at me, I guess we'll say. And I wanted to know more. When there's nothing out there written, I had to kind of do the groundwork myself, which is fine. I enjoy it. Yeah, that's just kind of, it's spiraled out of control from being a curiosity into being really kind of what I do.
So you alluded to before that you have written several books.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the books that you've written up to this point?
Absolutely. I've written a little bit of local history, and by local history I mean like Northeast Wisconsin, but also crime history. Originally I had a book called Milwaukee Mafia, which was about the Milwaukee Mafia, short and sweet, and I like it. I like the way it sounds, which is why that's the name of the podcast as well. I also went on and did a book called Shallow Grave, which was a specific incident that happened in the 1960s, which I'm sure we'll cover at some point on here. And then more recently, I did a book called Capital Murder, which was a book about Madison during the Prohibition era, which again will probably come up at some point. But yeah, so three full-length books, and I'm sure more sooner or later will be coming out. I want to do this in what I call a mailbag format. I'll introduce topics each week, and we can do a back and forth on it, but I would love it if people would submit questions, and I can actually address people directly, answer what people want to know. You can email MilwaukeeMafia@gmail.com. You can go to MilwaukeeMafia.com and find all the great things there. Or you can go to Facebook.com/Milwaukee Mafia, which I post to pretty regularly.
Cool. And Patreon.com/Milwaukee Mafia. And as always, please, if you enjoy this podcast, leave us a rating on your favorite podcast player. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Milwaukee Mafia Podcast.